Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Monday, April 13th. Here is your chicken video. Hopefully, you got a chance to watch the Steve Jobs speech and compare it. Obviously, I'm taking assignments whenever you can get them done. I know there's a lot going on, and it's not always easy making everything fit. Today's video, I'm going to give you answers to the 5 questions that are in the assignment for today. So don't forget to click the attendance assignment, click turn that in. It makes it easier for me to take attendance. And then also there's another assignment that has to do with today's video. So the video for today is talking about commencement speeches in general and what they're like and what makes a good one and why so many of them are bad. Obviously, since you're going to be writing a commencement speech, wait for the rooster. I'd like it to be a good one. I'm sure you do too. So there are a couple of things that I think are necessary to make commencement speeches useful and good. And I hope that the ones we're looking at are all evidence of what you think also makes for a good speech. So to get right to it, there's the first thing you need to do, and I know a lot of people said, I say a lot. I got a few people asking me, geez, I don't even know how to start this thing. Well, the easy way to answer that question is you need to start with an introduction. You need to watch those speeches and see what they do. Generally, it's something along the lines of, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and faculty, staff, administration, and class of 2020. My name is, and in a paper you wouldn't, rooster, in a paper you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't announce who you are or what you're doing. But in a speech you would, because the audience doesn't have any idea necessarily who you are or why you're talking to them. So an introduction is important because it tells people who you are and what you're trying to do. So you want to start out with, and that's going to be your whole first paragraph. Your whole first paragraph is going to be, this is the commencement address for, commencement for Duval Charter High School 2020, and my fellow seniors, I'd like to address you today, and then, more you. The main thing you need to keep in mind when you're writing this speech is that you have a live audience. You have a real audience out there. You have people who you need to be talking to. It can't just be about your own personal experiences and your own personal ideas. It needs to be written in a way that keeps the audience in mind. You must keep the audience in mind and remember that you're writing a speech for the class, for people to take advice from you. You can put in thank yous, you can put in alsos, you can do a whole lot of different things, but you absolutely must keep in mind that you're talking to an audience. You really have an audience here. Um, and that's so important because if people don't feel like they're being talked to, they're not going to listen. If they don't think it applies to them, they're not going to pay attention. If I start going off on giving you directions about an assignment that doesn't have anything to do with you or what you're going to do, you're probably going to tune me out, even if I have a very, very active and fine chicken. You're just not going to pay attention because it doesn't have anything to do with you. So it's important to keep your audience in mind because you want them to pay attention to your speech. Ideally, you have something important to say to them, and you want them to know that it's for them. Um, the other thing that's really difficult to overcome in speech making and speech giving and writing in general is a fear of being vulnerable. None of us really are all that comfortable with being vulnerable. It's the whole idea behind being vulnerable. We don't like that feeling. We like feeling like we're in control and we're tough and we're strong and we're capable, and we want people to see us that way. We don't want people generally to see us as vulnerable. One of the things about a speech, though, especially when you're trying to reach an audience, and especially maybe in times like we're going through right now, unusual, difficult times, is it is okay to show that you are vulnerable. It's okay to say that you're afraid, that you're worried, that you're concerned for yourself and for your classmates and your parents and whoever. You you can be vulnerable in your speech. You can be honest and open, and you're giving me she's giving me the eyeball. She's making me nervous. You are allowed to be vulnerable in the speech. You shouldn't be afraid of that. And honest. You should not be afraid to be vulnerable and authentic and honest. Um, so, last point for today in that word attachment that I put in the assignment is there's something I always tell you to do when you're writing, or tell you not to do when you're writing, but you should do it in a speech. And I'm going to tell you why. In writing, I always tell you your last paragraph, you don't have to say in conclusion. I'm going to know it's the conclusion because there's no writing underneath it. It's the end. There's no more. I know it's the end. In a speech, you have no idea when the end is coming. And most people are really, really looking forward to the end of your speech. One of the things that is more annoying than anything is when you're in an audience and somebody is giving a long, really boring speech, and they say, and finally, and you think, oh, thank goodness, this thing's almost over. And then they go on for like 10 more minutes of stuff that you don't care about. It's relentless. So, in a speech, you want to signal to your audience when you're about to wrap up, and you want to tell them, my final words, my last words, my parting thoughts, the last thing I want you to know, the main thing I want you to know. If you take anything away from this speech, this is what you should understand. You say that, you say your thing, and you get out of there. You don't bore people to death as a hobby. So you need a good introduction: who you are, why you're there, what you're doing. You need to keep your audience in mind during your speech. It's okay to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them, like I'm doing in this video. You need to keep the audience in mind because otherwise they're not going to listen. If they don't think this is targeted to them, they're not going to pay attention to you. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. It's okay to show that you're human and we all have flaws and not everything's perfect. And then lastly, um, make sure that you wrap up the speech by telling people that you're going to wrap it up somehow. Uh, there's a variety of ways you can do that. Takeaway points, last words, final thing I want to say, in conclusion, however you want to signal to your audience that you're almost done talking to them. And then do that thing. Don't go on for another 5, 10 paragraphs about what you should have covered in the first 5, 10 paragraphs. So those are the tips for today on what makes a commencement speech great. I think those will help you get started. I hope you all have a great week and a great Monday, and I'm going to take this chicken back to her friends. Have a lovely day, folks, and I'll see you later. Be safe out there.